leadership position or offered a leadership skills and management. And then maybe you have also occupied any position in GAMS in terms of professional and academic, anything?
Yeah, in GAMS, no, I didn't, but actually, I was involved in a lot of student leadership here. I was the VP of Finance for our graduate students union. So that's my kind of leadership experience. Yeah.
If you can hear me, Ima.
Yeah.
Are you on call, please?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, all right. So you have the opportunity to also make an interaction. Then later on, we would invite other colleagues on call to also join. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's fine. So my name is Saleh Emmanuel, and thank you so much, Jan, for the opportunity. Thank you so much, GS, for bringing me on board as well. I would prefer to call you Chinedu. I like the Chinedu. I prefer that one.
No worries.
All right. So Chinedu, I would like to take you a bit backwards.
Yeah.
Your desire to study abroad, did you develop that interest back at your undergraduate studies? Were there institutions on campus that really motivated you to develop the interest of seeking higher education abroad?
Yes. So it all started during my undergrad, and I and Emmanuel Salia were in the same class, and usually after lectures, we had lecturers like Dr. Edu, Patrick Edu, and Professor Samuel Isimbedi, Bedu. So they would usually share the experiences, how they did their PhD abroad, the kind of research they did and all that. And those things actually motivated me. And I had that interest of doing my master's and PhD, and I didn't know how to go about it. And their stories always motivated and inspired me to look for opportunities. And what I did was that after classes, I would approach them and ask them questions like, how did you find your scholarship? How did you go about it? And that was really helpful in shaping how things turned out for me. And I always went back to them for resources when it was time to write like essays. I remember sending my essays to Dr. Patrick Edu, and he would go over it. And I think that was really helpful for preparing me to study abroad.
All right. So thank you very much. So aside taking inspirations from lecturers that studied abroad, so where or how can students find international opportunities in the form of scholarships or exchange programs with your experience studying abroad? Are you able to advise on how students in deserved countries or underrepresented countries find scholarship opportunities or exchange programs?
Yes, actually made a short slide presentation that I could share if you don't mind. And I could actually go through it here, and everyone could see like how to look for different opportunities if that's possible.
With permission from the GS, I think you can go ahead.
I think that is possible. Okay. Jan, can you make Emmanuel the host so that he can share his slide?
Yeah, I think I could actually share my slide. I'm just
go ahead.
Yes. Can you see my slides?
Yes, I can see. I think we can see it now.
Oh, okay. I'll just give me a second. Okay, so yeah, I just prepared a very short slide to demonstrate how you could look for opportunities abroad. And I'm just going to preface this with a disclaimer that this is very North America centric, so US, Canada, as that's the system that I understand, right? But this could be applicable to any other country of interest. but just know that this is very US and Canada centric. Yeah, so I'd like to begin with, what does your typical application look like? So you'd have your online application where you fill out the application form online. And there's different components to your application that you'd have to upload to the online platform. So there's your personal statement or statement of purpose. So the name varies different, per the schools that you're applying to. And the length may also vary. And the things that you'd be required to write might vary. So just pay attention to the preamble that is provided when you're looking at the website. So there's your academic CV. Personally, I recommend 2 to 3 pages long. I've seen academic CVs of someone who just finished their undergrad and it's 7 pages long. It's too long, right? Yeah. So just restrict it to 2 to 3 pages long. And you need recommendation letters. This usually when you're applying, you just enter in the emails of the professors or lecturers that you want to use as your recommenders, and they'll send them a link to upload a letter for you. So I recommend identifying at least 4 different professors who can vouch for you, can write something very positive for you, and approach them like very early. I would say like 1 year in advance, let them know. Because they are very busy and they might not be able to meet the deadline. So the earlier, the better. So there's your transcripts, there's standardized tests. So some programs require to write a GRE or a GMAT. So most US and Canadian schools would require GRE. So just pay attention to that. And you'd have your application fee, which can vary from it being free to as expensive as $120 per application. So typically, this is what you would require when you're applying to a school in the US or Canada. Now, I have some general tips. Like I said earlier on, start early. If you want to go to school next year, if you want to go to school next year, September, I'd probably start in January, this year to start looking for different opportunities, and also note when the application deadline is. And I would recommend you apply 3 months before the deadline, so you already have everything. So if you have to post your transcripts via FedEx, you have enough time to actually send it. And I'll say be open to different opportunities. I've met people who are like, you know what, if it's not Canada, if it's not UK, if it's not US, I'm not going. I would say be open to every opportunity that comes your way. If you find a position in China, in Korea, go for it. Like you might have US or Canada as your final destination, but you could go do your master's there, get that experience, and apply for a PhD or a postdoc position elsewhere. And I also suggest you write the GRE, as this could increase your chance of finding different schools. So most schools in the US require you to have a GRE score. Not all the schools require that, but if you write a GRE, it would increase your application universe, right? It's open up the number of schools you could apply to, and also the amount of funding that could be available to you. So, and I also met people who are like, I have a first class degree, I don't need a GRE. The thing is that you are competing with so many different people who probably have close to a perfect GPA. And you might have a 3.6, which is considered a first class in UCC, but someone has a 3.9, and you're competing with this person. Sometimes the GRE makes the difference. And I'll suggest considering getting a research experience. So most BSc medical laboratory science program, you have to do a final year project. So I'll recommend that people take it seriously. If you didn't do that, I'll recommend that you volunteer with a professor or a lecturer to, do some research and possibly have your name on a publication whenever they are submitting it, as that could increase your chance of getting admission. And also be active on LinkedIn and Twitter. A lot of professors these days, they post available positions in their lab on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account, I highly suggest that you create one. And finally, make Google your best friend. Like if you have a question, just know that someone has already asked that question and that question has been answered. So before you reach out to someone for a question, try Googling the question and finding answers. Because when you start your postgraduate program, majority of the work is you figuring stuff out yourself, right? So, you'd have to at least develop or have that skill of figuring things out yourself. So if you don't know what a sustainable purpose is, just Google it, and I'm sure the answer is right there. And so how do you find a funded program? So I'll say do your research. Try to figure out what program do you want to study. For me, beginning of my search, I knew I wanted to do something with cancer. I like the idea of cancer research, so I would, identify that that area of research, and I'll start looking for programs that are that offer cancer research. The next thing is to look for the admission requirements. I'll show you how to look for that. But every program has different admission requirements. Some wants you to have a minimum GPA of 3.0, some lower, some higher. So make sure that you have that information on paper before you start. And also decide on the research area you want to pursue. So I'll use cancer research as an example. Cancer research is very broad. Some people want to look into how to diagnose cancer, like cancer diagnostics. I'm interested in therapeutics, so I chose research programs or MSc programs that are geared towards cancer therapeutics development. So this is something that you have to decide before even looking for programs, because there's so many programs you could choose, and if you narrow your search, there's a high chance that you're going to find something. And you should also identify two or three professors that are doing research in your area of interest and contact them. I'll show you how to do that. And for Canada, you definitely need to find a supervisor whose research interest aligns with yours before you are given admission. You could have the best GPA, the best application package. If you don't have a professor who is willing to accept you into their lab, you wouldn't get admission. But for some US schools, you don't need that. So it's important that you identify, if these programs require you to have a supervisor ready or not. So how do you even contact the supervisor in the first place? So many of you might have heard of cold emails. So cold email is nothing other than you sending out like a job application, quote unquote, right? So it's more like you applying for a job. You identify someone who has a research area that you are interested in. You send them an email expressing interest, and you attach your CV and your transcript, and hopefully they read it and find your profile interesting, and they invite you for an interview. So this is the cold email I used when I was applying for my PhD. So it's short. So here I just introduce myself. Hey, my name is dear Dr. So and so. My name is Manuel Asante. I'm currently completing my master's in biochemistry with Dr. ABC at Memorial University. I wish to undertake my doctoral program in your laboratory, right? So here I said I developed interest in your research group after perusing your website and reading your research articles. I'm particularly interested in the project that seeks to understand ways to target epigenetic pathways in breast cancer. So here I show that I've read through his website. I've identified a research area that I'm interested in his group, and this is what I'm interested in. I went on to share my background. I have a research background in breast cancer. I described what my thesis was, was investigating, what I found during my master's, the technique that I used during my master's, and how I could use this technique to, contribute to the projects that I've mentioned above and his research group in general. and I shared what my future plans are, and I just attached my CV, and I was fortunate enough to get an interview with the professor, and that's where I'm currently doing my PhD. So this is just a snippet of how a code email would look like. I could share this after the call for whoever is interested. But just know that I've sent this to so many different people. So I'll advise you to use it as a guide, and don't copy and paste. Just use it as a guide to compose yours, because you could send it to the same university or professor that someone else has already done. So just use it as a template, as a guide, or as a guide. So for the academic CV, I'm going to quickly share my CV. Sorry. Give me a second. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, can you see the CV?
No, it's the core email that is there now.
Okay, sorry, let me quit sharing. Okay, you should be able to see it now.
Yes, it's on the screen now.
Yeah, so academic CV, there are different ways to write an academic CV. I'll say just look for something that that is not too complicated, right? Your CV is just supposed to communicate what your experience are and what you bring to the table, right? So, very important, make sure that you're not putting your date of birth, your sex, your marital status. Just keep it simple. Your address, your name, your address, your email address, your phone number, and the next heading should be your education, right? Just list your academic credential. You can put your GPA, your final GPA on there. I don't have mine here. And this is an old CV, so I've not really updated it, but in place of experience, I would recommend you have research experience, or lead with a research experience, because you are applying to do research. So lead with a research experience. So here I've described what I did during my master's and PhD. And you could also list some techniques that you used, and you could also list your undergraduate or master's thesis, as I've done here. And if you have other work experience that could showcase your skills, as a medical laboratory scientist, you've worked in the lab, you know how to use different lab equipment, by microscopes and all that, you could list experiences that showcase that skill, right? And if you've done any presentation, maybe you've presented a poster somewhere, you've presented at a seminar, I would recommend that you list presentations that you spoke on, not a seminar that you attended, right? So if you attended a seminar, it doesn't show any skill. You were just there for the seminar. And if I'm a professor looking at that, like if you just shared a seminar that you attended, like it doesn't really add value to your presentation. But if you presented at a seminar, at a conference, you can list your presentations there, and it shows that you have communication skills, right? And if you've won any awards, you can list it there. If you have publications, you list it there. So all these things that I've described could fit into like 2 or 3 pages, right? Mine is a little bit over 4 pages because of like publications and all that stuff. But if you're fresh out of your undergrad, your CV shouldn't be. When I was applying, my CV was like, I think 1.5 page, right? You don't have to have like 7-page CV, and I can't stress that enough. The reason why I say this is that on average, professors receive like 40 to 50 emails a day, right? And you don't want to bore them looking at your profile. So if you're sending in your CV, you want to make it like as palatable as possible. They just gloss over it. They know, they can easily find what they're looking for, and you move on. So that's it with the CV. So I'll go back to the presentation. Yeah. Yeah. So, and if you're applying to the United States, I would encourage you to consider doing a transcript evaluation. So the transcript evaluation basically converts your Ghanaian transcript into a US or Canadian transcript, right? And it's very helpful if you have a low GPA. Sometimes it could boost your GPA. I know for UCC, I did this when I was applying. It increased my GPA back at I think 0.3. So yeah, so when you do the evaluation, it could actually increase your GPA, depending on where you graduate. I think it depends. Generally, it increases your GPA. And here are some different credential evaluation companies you could consider. And I know it's expensive, but sometimes it helps boost your applications. So let's look at how you could find different schools and actually search for the positions, right? I'm just going to share my browser now. Just a second. Okay. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
yes, we can see it.
Yeah. So here I'm just using the school where I did my master's as an example, right? So basically, when I started off, what I did was I typed lists of schools in Canada and I went through it one after the other. So when you type list of schools, you get a list of schools and their websites and you click, it's time consuming, but I mean, that's the process, right? So here I've skipped that part and just, I'm interested in looking at this school, Memorial University of Newfoundland, right? So here I just type the graduate programs that they have there. When you go to this website, here they've organized their programs into science, humanities, and say I'm interested in science programs. You click science and say I'm interested in biochemistry, right? So these are all the different programs that they offer in the university. And you choose whatever you're interested in. Say I'm interested in biochemistry, you go biochemistry. And here they've done a nice job of telling you how long the program is. So a typical MSc lasts for 2 years, PhD 4 years. When the admission deadlines are, these are very important. How much funding that you could get when you're admitted into the program. Yeah, Adam, I think you are unmuted and giving us feedback. Yeah, thank you. So here you can find the amount of money you could get. So between $14,000 to $17,000 a year, which is going to cater for your tuition and for your living expenses. So if you're an MSc or PhD candidate, right? And how much your tuition is if you're local or international, right? So all this information is on the website. Now, this program requires you to have a supervisor before you apply, and they've given you an information of how to look for where to find those supervisors. So if I click here, it says graduate applicants interested in research-based programs are strongly encouraged to connect with faculty supervisor at the time of application. Visit the department website. So I just click here. Sorry, yeah, I click here, it takes me straight to the department website. And here you have a list of all the different professors in the department, right? And they have a snippet of their profile, what they are interested in, what they are researching in, right? So for example, say I'm interested in working with Mark Berry. He says his research is in the health and disease relevance of a family of G protein coupled receptors. This work combines cell culture, animal models, and different pharmacological and biochemical signaling assays. So for example, you're interested in working with this guy, you're interested in the kind of research that he's doing. His lab website is right here. So when I click on it, it takes me straight on to his website. So, you could browse through and, here there's research. When I click research, I get a detailed idea of the kind of research that he's doing. So here he's working on trace amines and their receptors in the brain. So if there's something that interests you, you read extensively about it, and usually they have a link to the papers that they've published in the lab. You could read through those papers, and if that is what interests you, you could go ahead and contact the supervisor. So here they actually have a tab for positions available. So when I click on it, here he says I currently have vacancies for new MSc and master students, MSc and PhD students, sorry. So meaning that he's currently recruiting or looking for someone to work with. So having identified this and say I'm interested in working with him, now I can go and compose the code email that I showed and, make it such that, your interest aligns with whatever he's working on. Include your CV and your transcript and shoot him an email, and his email is, when you click on the contact information, his email is right here. So you just go, click on email, shoot me an email, and hopefully, if he sees your email and he's interested in your background and thinks that your background is a match for you, he's going to schedule an interview. And after the interview, then he will now ask you to formally apply to the university. And that's how I got my program. So I went through a very similar process, found a position just like this, applied, and the following day I was invited for an interview. After I passed the interview, I was asked to formally apply to the university. And the professor just takes your name, gives it to the admission department, and it's like, hey, I want this guy, and you're offered admission with fully funded, just like that. And I mean, it sounds so easy just by describing it, but I must confess that I emailed at least 100 professors before I landed one. So like it can take a while to find a position, but I guarantee you that when you find a position, it's worth it. So this is from Memorial University. Now I'm going to do a quick overview for a US school. So East Tennessee State University is a US university. Very similar process. You look for their graduate programs. So here they've organized that into masters and PhD. So say I'm interested in a master's program. Say I'm interested in MSc biology. Here they have different concentrations, either in biomedical science, biology, or microbiology. You could go to the program website, and you have the program admission requirements. So you need to have a GPA of at least 3.0 to 4.0 to be admitted. You have to have some, you should have taken some courses. You need 2 letters of recommendation. So if you want to apply to the program, you just click here, and it's very similar to what I described before. So the process is it's easy. I mean, it's taxing, but it's also easy at the same time. And for me, my starting point is Google. So just Google list of universities in the US, let's say offering microbiology. You'd get a list of universities. You go through it one after the other. Look for what are the minimum requirements. You just oppose that to what you have. Is it, do I think that I have a chance of making it into this university? You apply. If your GPA is not very high, like if you don't have a close to 3.9 or 4.0 GPA, I wouldn't recommend you look into Harvard. I mean, so there's a school. My point is that there's a school for everybody. Like you look at your GPA and your profile. If you have what they need, you apply. But if I have a 3.0 GPA, it would be a long shot applying to Harvard or Princeton, right? So, but I could easily get into East Tennessee State University. I always say that the goal is to get into a fully funded program. It doesn't matter the ranking of the school. Once you have a fully funded scholarship, I think you've won. And if you want to go to Harvard after that, after your MSc, you work really hard, get a very good GPA, and you could progress to Harvard. I've seen people do that. So, in short, that's an overview of how to look for fully funded programs. Now, Yeah, so if you have further questions, like I'm very happy to help and connect with people. You can easily shoot me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. I have my LinkedIn information here, and I'm easily accessible. You can just shoot me an email or a LinkedIn message, and I can help answer any other question that I didn't cover here. So yeah, back to you, Sam.
Yes, thank you, Chinedu, for the wonderful work that at least you've enlightened us on how to search for opportunities on websites. We should make Google our best friend. That is wonderful. But considering all these things that you went through, or the experiences that you've gathered so far studying abroad,
Yeah.
what are some of the challenges that you think students commonly encounter when they are searching for these opportunities, or even when they have the opportunity to study abroad, the challenges they go through? And with your experience, what advice do you give to these students to be able to overcome these challenges?
Yeah. I'll start with the first question. So one of the challenges when like searching for schools abroad, initially I would say there wasn't a lack, there wasn't enough information, at least during my time. But now there's so many information out there. A lot of people are doing YouTube videos describing like what I just showed you step by step. So even that, like even though you have like so much information out there, sometimes it's very it's very draining. Like you're drowned in so much information, you don't even know where to start. And I always say Google is your best friend. Start like just a quick Google search. How do I do this? I think you could navigate, and you could also reach out to alumni. So if you went to University of Ghana, UCC, go on LinkedIn, reach out to people who graduated from your program and who are abroad, right? Just go on LinkedIn and connect with them, shoot them an email, a LinkedIn message like, hey, my name is so and so. I'm looking to apply abroad. I've done this. Do you mind if we have a 10-minute phone conversation, right? And for me, that really helped me. I reached out to a lot of people on LinkedIn when I was applying, and they helped guide me through the process. One of them actually offered to read over my statement of purpose, right? So I do receive a lot of LinkedIn messages like that, but people will start off with hey, hi, and if I see hey, hi, I might not really respond because I don't know like what you're what you're looking for. So just go straight to the point. Hey, my name is so and so. I saw your profile. You went to the same university. This is what I'm trying to do. Can you help me? Like, can we get like in a 10 minutes one conversation to discuss this further? I think that's one of the ways to do it. And also one of the challenges you could face when you come here, I think, so for me, one of the challenges is the weather, right? We are coming, we are from Ghana where it's all warm. You come here, it's very cold. Some people were like, oh, I mean, like that should be enough. But yeah, sometimes the weather is a challenge. You are removed from all your support system. You don't have a lot of people, your family, your friends around you. That can be very challenging when you first move here initially. And figuring a way to navigate. For me, I had to, I joined the church and I found a community here, and that was one of the ways I dealt with it. Another challenge is the academics. Here, at least for the research programs, like I mentioned initially, I studied my master's in Ghana, and I dropped out of the program before coming here, and I realized that the way they did things here at the postgraduate level was very different. In Ghana, you take like your first year of MPhil, you take a series of courses. Here, you only take like 2 or 3 courses your entire program. And those programs, those courses is mostly presentation. Like at least from my experience, you are given a paper to critique. You make a PowerPoint presentation, you stand at the podium, you present the research as if it's yours, and people grill you with questions, right? I wasn't used to that, and I wasn't also used to public speaking. So I remember my first class, like I really struggled with, standing in front of people and presenting, right? So these are some of the challenges, but there are ways to go around it, right? Like, so Michael,
Frimpong, can you kindly mute?
Yeah, I think it's muted now. So for me, these are some of the challenges that I faced. There was a lot of writing. So I think I only took one exam for master's and PhD. I only wrote one exam, and I only wrote one exam, and the rest were just like writing papers, and writing papers and making sure that you're not copying and pasting. You have to write papers yourself, right? Make sure you're not plagiarizing. There's someone I witnessed who was expelled from the program because he plagiarized. So he was writing a paper and he basically copied an entire paragraph from somewhere online and presented that as his. And it's a serious offense here. When you're writing, it has to be your own idea, your own words. Learn how to write without copy and pasting. There's ChatGPT. Now people are using ChatGPT to write. There are actually softwares to detect if what you've written is ChatGPT. So I would encourage people to learn how to write without, getting into trouble. So these are some of the challenges that you could face, but there are ways to navigate through all these challenges.
Wow, that's very wonderful. That's wonderful. And so in as much as you encourage us to be ourselves and develop ourselves in writing without just direct copying and pasting, what do you think supervisors look out for in students who contact them with respect to their essays, with respect to their CVs, with respect to their cold emails? Are you able to reignite that?
Yeah, so I like to keep things simple. I would say just keep it short, sweet, and simple. Don't write a full page email. That's a cold email. Keep it like, if you write more than 350 words, you're writing too much. And some emails can be very generic. Some people are like, oh, I saw, I've read your publications. I think your interest aligns with mine. I want you to supervise me. It's very easy to see through that when the student has not read through the professor's website and understood what they are doing. And sometimes their research area could be very difficult and different from what you're used to, and it's hard to understand. But again, you can do your own research, like use other resources to understand, what exactly they are working on. And you tailor your email, at least show them that you've read, like I shared on the code email. I'll just scroll down to that, So here I told him that I identified. I identified a project that is actively that they're actively working on in their lab, which was epigenetic, like targeting epigenetic pathways in breast cancer, right? And I went on to describe how, what my work was and how I could contribute. After reading through their papers, I knew that they were using confocal microscopy. They were doing a lot of immunofluorescence staining, but they weren't doing 3D co-culture, which is what I was doing during my master's. So I was able to highlight how I could add value to their research project, right? If you're coming straight out of undergrad, you might not have a lot of experience, but still you could, even, with the small experience that you have from, your project work, you could expand on that, you could expand on that and probably pitch, some suggestions in your email, like how you think you could contribute to their project. So I think that's what makes it difficult when it comes to looking for opportunities abroad. But I would say the more you do it, the better you get at it. And before you send out your first email, I'll recommend that you actually send out your draft to someone to look over it and gain feedback. So yeah,
Yes.
that's all I can say.
Thank you, Chinedu. At this moment, my last question will be before I get to my senior colleague John. In your opinion, how do global learning experiences enhance career prospects, considering people coming from low middle income countries like Ghana? How would you think that global learning experiences enhance our career prospects?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like, number one, I got the opportunity to study, to do some really cool research there. There are equipments that I read about during my undergrad that I never dreamt of seeing, but I got the opportunity to work with those things. There are some big names, in the field that I've heard of, and through, work, doing research abroad, I was able to meet people, make that connection. And overall, I think it could also enhance your career, right? I've seen people who've, come here, did their master's or PhD, and have moved on, through the people that they've met during their studies, have, moved on to do really great things. So I think, exploring study opportunities abroad could open so much doors for you career-wise. And it also gives you the opportunity to contribute to Ghana something. Because I also know a lot of people who they've finished and acquired these amazing skills and experience, and they've moved back to Ghana to share their skills and experience with other upcoming scientists and students, right? So yeah, I think it's a very nice way to build up yourself, and it gives you the opportunity to also share what you've learned.
Thank you so much, Chinedu. I'm so proud of you. At this point, I would reach out to my senior colleague, Jan, to take over. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that's okay. Let me mute the person. Okay. All right. So thank you very much for the presentation, and I believe that largely we have all learned a lot from our brother. Ima, I beg of you if you could also share your contact details as you shared your presentation in the chat, so that people could easily pick it up in case anybody needs it. Okay. All right. So at this point, we would open the floor, and so we also recommend that anyone with any question or contribution, suggesting anything, you could also drop it off in the chat. We will read for you. So the floor is open. We will take them in turns. Maybe the first three. Yeah, the first three. Then we will come back to another 10. All right, so I could see something in the chat box. Let me see if I can. All right, so your details have been shared. Right, that's fine. So Jude Asamoah Echampo wants to, he says that, please, could you share your presentation again? Thank you. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, if you send me an email, like, I could share my slides if that's what you're looking for. I could share that.
Okay, so thankfully,
hello, John. Sorry, let me come in. I think once it will be on the GAMS YouTube site, members could just log onto the YouTube, and then they could get an overview of the whole presentation. Is that possible?
Yes, that's very much possible. But like you said, yes, it's very, very possible. And we recommend that all of us should subscribe to the GAMS YouTube channel to follow. But like he said, he has also shared his email. So if you're interested, you can just hit him up, and then I think he doesn't really have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So the floor is open. Please, if you have any concern, question, contribution, you can raise up your hand, and then you'll be invited to do that.
Right. So Emmanuel, there's a
Yeah.
question in the chat box.
Reverend.
There's one of our colleagues who says, I'm a diploma holder and I want to know if it is advisable for me to apply for a graduate program. Is there opportunity to move from a diploma, in quote, let's say a 3-year diploma from Ghana, and enter straight to a postgraduate program in Canada or US?
Yeah, so for Canada, I haven't seen that, but in the US, I've heard of programs that consider diploma programs from Ghana as first degree, and you can easily move from that into a master's. PhD, I'm not sure, but you could do your master's with a diploma program. I don't know exactly which school, but it would take some Google search for you to find that out. So I would encourage you to, if I find something out, I'll let the person just contact me. But I would encourage you to do a quick Google search. You can probably find that school. I've heard a lot of people talk about this school where they admit people with HND and also a diploma into master's program. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So I can see Reverend Dr. Eric Akole's hand up. Reverend, if you can hear me, please kindly unmute and then let's hear from you.
Okay, so thank you very much. This is a nice presentation. We are grateful to the organizers and also the presenter. Okay, so the first one, I had my transcript evaluated by WES because I wanted to do the ASCPI, that is for, I think, in the US. Now, if I want to apply to a school in Canada, do I need to reapply for another evaluation by WES Canada, or I can use the US one? That is one.
Okay.
Then the second one is that when I did my WES for evaluation for US, they have equated the Doctor of Medical Lab as masters, that is in US. So I want to ask whether based on that I can also apply for a PhD directly. Thank you.
Yeah, so the evaluation, so I don't know which evaluation that the ASCPI require, but the WES, they have 2 types of evaluation. There's a general evaluation and there's course by course evaluation. So if you did course by course evaluation,
I did the course by course.
Yeah, yes. So perfect. So the course by course evaluation, because that they look at all your the individual courses, and so with that you can apply. You can use that to apply for master's or PhD. And actually, in the US, you don't need a master's to do a PhD. You can go straight from your BSc into a PhD program for the US. The only caveat is that it's longer. So in the US, a PhD is 5 years. So they lump your master's and PhD into the same program, and it's 5 years long. In Canada, you need a master's to do a PhD, right? So I've seen people, they apply with their BSc, they start their master's, and 1 year into their master's, they transfer into a PhD program. So by then, the department and your supervisor would have evaluated you and think that, oh, you could actually be, make a very good PhD candidate, and they just migrate you into a PhD program. So you don't end up getting an MSc. You go straight and you'd get a PhD at the end of your program. So I think Reverend, I'll highly recommend, encourage you to apply for a PhD, straight PhD program with your Doctor of Med-Lab, and just attach the course by course evaluation to your application, and that should suffice. I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you very much. Emmanuel Stanley, I can see your hand up. I don't know if you have any.
Yes,
other than that, we go to the chats.
Yes, so I wanted to contribute to the question that has to do with if a diploma holder could apply for graduate studies abroad.
Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, so I want to speak with respect to United States of America. So there are schools in United States of America that will actually accept diploma or higher national diploma certificates, holders into PhD programs based on certain factors. One, if you have some working experience. Two, if you have that's professionally, and three, if you have a stronger GPA. Above all this, what also would justify your position or your chances of getting an admission will depend on your essays. If you are able to draft essays that are convincing, that are able to sell you, that aligns with the vision, mission of the school or the department or the program, you have chances of being admitted. Also, your recommenders, you would need people who can speak about you, who can actually point out or highlight your skills very well in your recommendation letters to these institutions. And when these are done, you have chances of doing that. I have friends from Nigeria who had HND degrees, and they had the opportunity of being admitted to University of Texas, Taylor. I met him on LinkedIn. We became friends, and he's currently in the United States, second year, reading a master's program in material science. And so I just want to say that it is possible if you have the working experience, if you have the research experience, if you are able to draft essays that are convincing or that can better market your capabilities. If you have people who can write recommendation letters highlighting your skills, then you have higher chances of being admitted or getting a program that is funded. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. But just to also reiterate the point that our guest made, in case you are in any doubts, like you said, Google, and then you kind of find out, because I know that each country and the institution would also prescribe separate requirements. So at any point in time, I think that this information can be available, as you said. So it's also important that we go a step ahead and then search. Just put something small in Google, and then maybe, who knows, you can get some favorable response. I can also see Edward KK's hand up. Edward, if you can hear me, kindly unmute, and then let's hear.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for the opportunity. Great presentation. My question is simple. I just want to know how the transition from MedLab to biochemistry, even though they are all in the field of sciences.
All right,
Yeah.
Ima,
Yes.
I think we have 3 hands. Would you be
Was
fine
it an
if we
opportunity
all of them
based?
together?
Yeah, I can do that.
I wish that you take all 3 together so that you can respond to them at once. So, Edward, I think Edward has taken his turn. Let's
Yes,
move to.
yes. So I was asking. I didn't finish my question. I was asking,
Okay,
was it an opportunity based driven choice, or it was purely based on interest? Because he could have done the cancer research in MedLab, right? Or there is no course like that. I think that will be enough for now.
All right, thank you very much. So I think he has taken notice of. Beverly Chung, if you can hear me, kindly unmute. Let's hear from you.
Hello. Please, can you? Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so I applied for a couple of programs last year for a master's program, but I concentrated on biological science. But when you go through their requirements, and I'm a laboratory technician, so I don't know if the biological science it's okay to apply again, or we have other courses or programs that you can apply.
All right, thank you, Beverly. But your background is very noisy.
Sorry.
All right, so Michael Xiao, if you can hear me, go ahead. Hello, Michael Xiao. Can you hear us?
Okay, so not for us to waste time, let's concentrate on the two questions. If Michael is ready, we take him in the next round.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll start off with the first question. He asked if it was if my transition from MedLab to Biochem was interest or opportunity driven. For me, it was opportunity driven. Because at least in Canada, they don't have masters in MedLab, and like I said initially, when I was starting off, I was interested in cancer biology, so I was just looking for anything that has to do with cancer biology. And the way the MedLab curriculum is structured, by the time you're done with your 4-year degree, you would have done like bits and pieces of different courses from molecular biology to biochemistry. ChemPart is basically biochemistry, and in my opinion, that is enough. A background in medical lab is enough to it's enough preparation to enable you to specialize in almost anything as far as the biomedical science and even public health is concerned. Because I know people who did a BSc in medical laboratory science and now they are doing epidemiology and public health. So personally, I saw the opportunity. I mean, would I have chosen biochemistry from the get-go? Probably not, but I saw the opportunity, I seized it. And I ended up not even doing a biochemistry, like even one biochemistry course in my master's. I did molecular medicine and molecular biology. That was it. The program is hosted by the biochemistry department, right? But if you look at my transcript, I basically did molecular medicine and molecular biology. Yeah, and for the second question, she was applying for biomedical science but hasn't gotten a response. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what you are applying for. So far as you have a medical lab background, you can study anything from biological science to pharmacology to microbiology. So far as it's within the umbrella of biomedical science and even beyond, you can do that. So quite recently at McGill University, they profiled a student who did his undergrad in biology, master's in biochemistry, and he did a PhD in finance and is currently a finance professor in a university in the US. So you can switch. It doesn't matter what your background is. Like if you have the interest and the zeal, you can switch to anything that you want. So yeah.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, nice presentation. First of all, I would like to address a misconception among our professional group. Medical laboratory is science, and there's nothing like medical laboratory.
Okay. Yeah, noted.
Okay, all right, that's fine. From Paul Manso, Michael, if you can hear us.
Yes, Prince, my question is it compulsory for you to come to Ghana after your education, or you can stay there forever?
Yeah, so it depends on how you got here. So for Canada, most scholarship programs, like if it's a school that offered you the scholarship, there's no, they actually want you to stay. The Canadian government wants you to stay. In the US is similar, but if you are on a type of visa in the US called a J1 visa, is usually offered to Fulbright scholars. Like there's a category of visa called a J1 visa. If you're on that visa, you are required to go back to your country for 2 years before you can come back to the States. So, but if you're on the regular F1 visa, that's where United States, there's a pathway for you to stay in the country. So it depends on the visa you are on when you move to your country of interest.
All right, thank you very much. So I think that there are some few questions in the chat box. Let's try to address them. Then maybe if you have time, we still proceed. Someone says that, please, I'm a lady and I want to write a certificate program. Is there an opportunity for me? Well, I don't know exactly what's right. If you can come again, I think the question isn't too clear. Anyway.
Yeah.
But Shalom wants to find out. He says, thanks for the great presentation. How do I coin my code email to suit a research I am interested in, different from a research that I did in my undergrad? Okay. And then you have, my question is, give an example of how to frame statement to differentiate it from plagiarism. Hey. Wow. Then Jude Entry Asibe, thanks for the presentation. I want to know if there is always if it is always important to have a higher GPA before you can apply. Is there an opportunity for someone with a GPA less than 3.0? I think that Beverly, can a medical laboratory scientist, please, as a medical laboratory scientist, what are the possible master's programs that you can apply? Please, I'm asking because I applied into a biological science program, but I couldn't get admission. Okay. All right. So I think largely these are some of the questions in the chat. Maybe you can address them then.
Yeah. So so for the yes, I'll start with the first one, which I think he asked if he can write a code email that is different. Yeah, you can contact supervisor. So I've seen people with a medical science lab background, and they've moved on to neuroscience, right? At the end of the day, it's what you're interested in, right? You know, like I said, the curriculum has prepared you to do almost anything, right? So it's up to you to establish a link between what you're interested in and what your background is. Say, I want to do neuroscience. I could say that, during my histopathology course, and practicals, we did a lot of brain dissections, and you can always draw that link, right, between what you studied versus what you want to do, right? So there's always a lot of things you could draw, you could draw inspirations from, right? For me, I did one of my attachments during one of my clinical attachments at 37 Military Hospital. And I was at the pathology unit, and all we did was just process breast cancer tissues, for sectioning. And I was like, hold on a second. Within the span of 2 weeks, we received so many samples. What's going on here? So when I started digging deep, I realized that triple negative breast cancer is actually very prevalent in Ghana, and that's how I developed my interest. So when I was writing my essays and personal, statements, like I referenced that it was during my clinical internship that I actually knew of this problem, and I think I want to work on this, and that's where my passion lies, and I want to tackle it. So you can always draw inspiration from that. The other one with regards to plagiarism, I honestly, I don't. There are resources online where you can learn how to write without plagiarizing. So what is plagiarizing? Basically, plagiarism is taking someone's work and turning it in as yours, right? So, for example, you read an article and you just copy and paste, and put your name on it. That's plagiarism. So the best way to go about it, you read the article, you want to rewrite the articles in your own words and how you understand it, without necessarily changing the meaning of the article. So that's the easiest way I could describe how not to plagiarize. But I'm sure there are a lot of YouTube videos online, a lot of resources online you could learn, you could read and practice how to write without plagiarizing. And to the question about the GPA, I always say that if you have the opportunity to improve your GPA, please do, because you are competing with people from all around the world, right? And one of the things that would differentiate you between them is your GPA. If you have a low GPA, your chance of getting into a top university would be low, right? But if you have a low GPA, I'll highly recommend you apply to schools in the States, like in the US, because the US has over 3,000 universities, and there's basically a university for everyone. So there are programs that would admit you with full funding if you have a GPA of at least 2.5 to 4.0. So it means if you have 2.5, 2.7 and above, you can gain admission, provided that you have enough work or research experience. So you'd have to make up for your low GPA in research or work experience, right? So there's always a school for everybody, but in Canada, the schools are very few. There's at least about 15 or 20 universities in Canada that are actually that are actively pursuing research. So the competition is very high. So I would, if you have a low GPA, I would highly encourage you to look in the US. Again, if you Google schools that accept low GPA, you would find a list. I've seen lists that people have posted of schools that accept low GPAs. I think that's the questions I have, or at least I have written down here. I don't know if I missed anything.
All right. Thank you very much. There's one question, but honestly, I want us to maybe in the next 3 minutes actually look at this question critically. Okay. Beverly Chum wants to know, she's a medical laboratory scientist. She wants to find out what are some of the possible programs that she can pursue for a master's. And she's also asking because she applied into biological sciences program, but couldn't get admissions. So she wants to find out what are the other options that she can look at. But I want us to examine this particular question because for us, especially at the undergrad, we were made to believe, or we knew that for medical laboratory science, we have basically 4 specialty areas. If it's not chemical pathology, then it should be microbiology, then hematology, or maybe histopathology or something like that. And so our focus were targeted on these 4. And I believe that as we are growing, our perceptions and thinkings are really changing. And so maybe somebody may even pursue medical laboratory and at a point abandon it, or even further in even law, or how to do leadership and management, or not necessarily focusing. People are actually even doing public health and other related courses. In your case, you're a medical laboratory scientist, but you didn't go through the 4 areas that I've already mentioned, and now you are actually doing amazing in other areas. So on a broader view, what will be your response to this question, especially to the younger ones who are actually coming?
I would say that don't restrict yourself to what you studied. In as much as medical laboratory science is a professional degree, right? At the end of the day, it's an undergraduate degree, right? And what an undergraduate degree does is that it gives you the foundation to learn other things, right? The fact that you did hematology, microbiology, histopathology doesn't actually make you a hematologist, right? It kind of gave you like a broad introduction into the field of hematology, right? And say you want to specialize in hematology, you'd have to go pursue further studies. And now, the GAMS has a fellowship. If you want to specialize in hematology, you go do a fellowship in hematology and get like specialized knowledge in that. That being said, that could be applied to other areas of study. If you think you're interested in any field of study, don't limit yourself to microbiology, chemical pathology, or whatever. Like identify. So I actually encourage people, don't look at the program. Don't look at the name of the program, but look at the research area. So for example, one of my best friends, he is he's interested in human nutrition, right? He did med lab, interested in human nutrition. That's the area of research that he fancies, right? And guess what? He's doing his PhD in biology. Someone would say, "Oh, you have a degree in medical lab. Why are you studying a PhD in biology?" But when you look at his research project is actually looking at how to improve nutrition, right? And at the end of the day, no one is going to say that, "Oh, you have a master's in biology, you are not a nutritionist." So at the end of the day, it's your research area of specialization that matters. So don't restrict yourself to a particular field of, don't restrict yourself to microbiology, hematology. Just expand and apply it widely, right? So that's why I keep saying that identify an area of interest. So within biological science, what about biological science are you interested in? Are you interested in studying mycology? Are you interested in studying I don't know what areas of research are in biological science, but identify, one particular research area that excites you, right? Perhaps that research area could be found in the biology department or maybe the chemistry department, right? Someone wants to develop new ways of analyzing analytes in the lab, right? That's what you want to develop, a next generation diagnostic kits, diagnostic technique. You wouldn't find that a project, or you didn't find a program in chemical pathology or whatever. You'd probably want to do an analytical chemistry, because that's where you are studying how to analyze analytes, right? So you'd probably apply to an analytical chemistry project, or program. So I think I would encourage people not to limit themselves. Currently, I'm doing a PhD in experimental medicine. So in my department, there are people who are working on drug discovery. There are people who are looking at diagnostics. There are people who are working on medical physics, like using radiation to treat cancer. At the end of the day, we are all doing experimental medicine, but we are taking different courses, right? Experimental medicine is just an umbrella for the department, but everybody has their different specializations. So I would say broaden your scope.
All right, thank you very much. Ima, I think that I largely agree with you. My experience over the years, whether I also wanted to apply for, I was interested in the pathology, anatomical pathology and all that. So I tried it in KNUST for the first time. The anatomy department, they didn't actually admit me. And there were so many reasons. Space, anatomy, they didn't actually have the space, the faculty. And what I'm saying is that there are so many factors that actually will contribute to students being admitted or not. And I'm speaking from my experience here in Ghana. But so the subsequent years, or the next year, I also applied immunology. And then I'm doing immuno-oncology. And I've still ended back in the pathology lab. So if you look at my work that I'm doing, basically I'm doing pathology. So I agree with you. I think that you can also broaden your scope and then not limit ourselves to just these areas. So thank you very much.
Hello, can I speak? There was a problem with my microscope.
Who is this, please? Is it
Michael?
Michael?
Yes, please.
Okay, Michael, you have the.
So I think the question I wanted to address is about the misconception and how we are limited. Our thoughts have limited. And he has already addressed it. But I want to redirect my question to you. You are currently doing oncology or pathology?
Not
you, please, the last speaker.
Oh, okay, Bernard.
Yeah, Michael, can you go ahead, please? Go ahead with your question.
So I want to know, have you acquired any new skills, any laboratory skills during this training?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes.
What
laboratory I did by my own work at the
not
undergrad.
from your not from your previous as a profession, but at the program. Have you received any actual real training?
That is exactly what I'm responding to.
Thank
if you
you.
can allow me to go ahead. I mean, it's a conversation that you're having. Yes. during my program, undergrad, I never had the opportunity to even use the microtome. I could not cut the sessions. In my work, I had to do that myself. I never had the opportunity to, do immunohistochemistries. I have the pain to go through the lab and use the antibodies myself. So yes, largely, if you ask me, I've acquired a lot of skills and an experience whilst in the lab.
Thank you very much.
So
That's
Michael, what's you can address us about the need for that question. If you want to learn something out of your question, let us know.
So I am asking this question because
Michael, are you?
I think he has dropped. So yes, maybe we can proceed.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if you still have time. It's 8 to 6. Yes, with your guidance.
Yes. So we are grateful to Emmanuel for spending time with us today. I think this is a great learning curve for most of us here. The good aspect of the program is that the facilities are still available, the videos and the audios are available. We encourage us to review them and also research. I think what he has done is just to introduce us to the processes and the vast information available. We have to do research on us on it. We can equally go to YouTube and also share and learn from experiences of other people. I just want to also contribute to the discussion. So now that you are learning or you are into drug discovery research, how do you think that you can also develop our sector in Ghana for us to get people like you to also go into these researches? What plans do you have for Ghana, exporting some of the knowledge you have learned, even not physically, virtually? How do you get this to us? And how do you develop more of your kind from the profession?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much for the question. And yeah, I think, like programs like this where we get to showcase that, beyond the lab, we can actually do other things. I'm as a biomedical science, a medical laboratory scientist, as you are, like I could do, I could work as a as a medical laboratory scientist, and as well as a drug discovery scientist. So we are very versatile. Our training has equipped us with everything that we need to, do as many things as we can. And in terms of contributing to Ghana, I'm always open to collaborations. Yes, we diagnose patients, but I also think that there's the need to not only diagnose patients, but also discover new drugs that would replace old ones. And I think that's where I can contribute my expertise. I'm always open to research collaborations. As far as training, if anyone is interested in this field, if anyone wants to make, if anyone wants to pivot to drug discovery, I'm always open to have a chat. And perhaps in the future, when an opportunity presents itself for me to actively engage, locally at home, I'll be very happy to grab that. So.
Okay. One of the good things about this program is the fact that you have volunteered to share experience. Humans are not sometimes open. Sometimes when people find gold, they want to keep the gold and continue to mine it. But you have been frank enough to say that I've gotten this opportunity I'm ready to share with others to also enter the same opportunity. It's good. It's a good thing. How do we build a community of people like you to develop and also share ideas? What plans do you have? I know you have a network of other colleagues in various universities in Canada, US, and other countries.
Yeah.
What plans do you have? I'll be happy after this program, we set up a network to continue this so that it doesn't become a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So it's a suggestion, and I want to see whether you have, yes.
Yeah, I'm very open to any suggestions. We could start off by, we could start off by even creating a WhatsApp group where we, bring like-minded people together, share ideas, and maybe have weekly, or monthly, or have seminars from time to time where we discuss, issues like this and create awareness of how to contribute, right? I'm very sure, like there are a lot of people. Like I know there's actually a professor in Canada here. He's also a graduate of medical laboratory science, and he's currently a professor of pathology in the University of British Columbia here in Canada. So there are more people like me, and even doing way much better than I am, and way much successful and out there. And I think we can always bring people together, connect, and see how we can raise awareness and also drive our profession further.
So I'm glad you accepted the call. And so one of the next things we'll do after this is the moderators, John, myself, Emmanuel, and the PRO will team up with you, create a group, and look at how we can build a network for us all to benefit from it. Beyond this, we should also be looking at how to get our members to win minor grants for presentations and conference presentation outside the country, which can also build our confidence and our professional outlook. So we are grateful. We are grateful for the time with us, and we really, on behalf of the National Executive Council, we commend you for owning up and being bold enough to say that I want to share my experience with others and not be selfish. That is a good thing you have to keep up. And I think when you share, when you give, God will open more doors for you than you hoard a lot of things for yourself. So we are grateful for the opportunity. John and Ima, your final words, and we can end if we don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I can see some hands up, but because of time, we may have to drop down the program at this point. So thank you very much for all participants, and particularly to our guests for taking time. You have already acknowledged that. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with us. I think that I have really enjoyed the conversation today, and we hope that the next time we meet or similar episodes, we all make time to join. In the meantime, I'm reminding all members on call to visit YouTube and then subscribe to the GAMS YouTube page or channel and follow all discussions, previous and then subsequent ones. Thank you very much, and then we'll meet again in similar episode. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.